the movie starts with Brandon Burlsworth, freshly baptized and feeling all the holiness, returning home just to complain that people were calling him fat. His mom, always the source of divine wisdom, reassured him, saying that God must have some big plan for making him that way. "Ignore them," she said, "because only God knows what's best." She just forgot to mention that God's plan might involve a lot of football and snacks. Meanwhile, Brandon had a brother 17 years older named Marty, who was already fed up seeing Brandon living the life of a true couch potato. At 12, Brandon was already carrying more weight than most boys his age, and when Marty tried to get him off the couch, Brandon just kept eating, eyes glued to the TV. Then, as if hit by some divine revelation, Brandon declared he wanted to be like the football players he was watching. His mom, the eternal cheerleader, supported the idea, whether he was serious or not. Over time, Brandon joined the school football team. Unsurprisingly, he had no idea what he was doing and got chewed out by the coach in the first game. Even the spectators mocked his family by association. But a high school coach, Coach Tice, saw something in him and gave him valuable advice: first one in, last one out, just like the GOAT, Cristiano Ronaldo. Marty, being the protective brother, warned their dad not to drink when Brandon stayed over one night, but guess what? The next morning, Brandon called Marty to pick him up because their dad was predictably drunk. At this point, I probably would have given up and stopped visiting the old man. But Brandon just kept moving forward, ignoring all the family drama, and started showing up to football practice first, just like Coach Tice had said. When it came time to go to college, Brandon had his eyes set on playing for the Arkansas Razorbacks, but the coach wasn't exactly throwing scholarships his way. According to the coach, Brandon was still underweight, which is ironic considering everyone called him fat. Brandon, however, wasn't discouraged, promising he'd gain even more weight. Eventually, he got a scholarship offer, but not from the Razorbacks, it was from Arkansas Tech. Most people would have jumped at the chance for a free education, but Brandon wasn't most people. He tore up the offer letter because Arkansas Tech wasn't part of his dream to be a Razorback. "I wouldn't have been so bold as to tear up that offer, but hey, you've got to admire the dedication." Marty and Coach Tice tried to knock some sense into him, but Brandon stayed stubborn. This part shows just how much Brandon's mom believed in him. She took out a loan to cover his first year at the University of Arkansas, fully aware that their financial situation wasn't great. Brandon realized how much his mom was sacrificing and promised he'd earn a scholarship within a year. The guy showed up at practice, only to get ridiculed for his weight again. Hadn't he just been called underweight? Turns out, walk-ons like Brandon were there to make the scholarship players look good. Despite this unglamorous role, Brandon stuck with it, even when his teammates mocked him for being a mama's boy. He refused to quit, and his perseverance didn't go unnoticed by Coach Bender, who decided to help him lose weight and improve his skills. As Brandon lost weight, his skills improved, and little by little, his teammates began to respect him. One day, he even went head-to-head with the best player on the team and surprised everyone by winning. At that moment, I would have patted myself on the back and celebrated. But Brandon? Nope, he still wasn't satisfied. His friends, sensing a rare moment of camaraderie, invited him out for drinks, but here's where it gets weird: they ordered alcohol for him, fully knowing he didn't drink. At that point, I definitely wouldn't have hung out with those friends, but again, Brandon just kept moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, did you know that this movie is based on Brandon's life? They had to recreate his distinctive look, including his iconic glasses, to stay true to the character. One thing I wouldn't have done in Brandon's shoes is tear up that scholarship letter. I would have taken it in a heartbeat. But hey, Brandon wasn't like me. An interesting point is how Brandon balanced both his family's financial struggles and his dreams without ever giving up. But getting back to the story, after a couple of drinks, Brandon confessed that he only had 1 year to study there but would always remember everyone's kindness. Suddenly, the vibe got weird. Then, out of nowhere, a waitress announced they were out of alcohol. Brandon realized his friends had pulled a prank, and of course, he was disappointed. He decided to walk out into the pouring rain, in a dramatic scene straight out of a movie. Feeling guilty, his friends ran out with him in the rain. And so, they reconciled. Over time, his team started doing well, so much so that the fans almost brought the stadium down with their cheers. But the highlight was when Coach Bender announced that Brandon had earned a full scholarship to the University of Arkansas. Brandon ran to tell his family, who were so happy they could hardly believe it. Of course, things soon started to get complicated because life wouldn't be fun without a good dose of drama. In 1997, during a game against Florida, Brandon's vision suddenly got blurry, and he had to leave the game. With his new glasses, his friends didn't miss the chance to laugh at him. Days later, another bombshell dropped. Brandon's dad was in the hospital with lung cancer. Coach Bender suggested Brandon visit his father, who asked his son to take care of his mom and died shortly after the visit. With the team on a losing streak and a change in leadership, Brandon sought advice from Bender about making it to the NFL. The response was harsh. Less than 2% of college players made it to the pros, and the new coach probably wouldn't even let him play. Brandon, as stubborn as ever, said he was going to win that season. And guess what? He managed to whip the team into shape, and they started winning game after game. One thing I found interesting was how the coach said that for scouts to notice you, the team had to win. So instead of focusing only on himself, Brandon created a summer camp to train his friends. That's something I definitely wouldn't do, imagine all that work. But on the other hand, I would do everything I could to motivate the team because, without collective effort, there's no point in trying. Brandon's efforts turned the team from underdogs into legends. The film portrays Brandon's story, and he's considered one of the greatest walk-ons in college football history. To make the movie, the production had to wait 6 years to secure the rights to Brandon's story before they could start filming. Now, at the end, here comes the sad plot twist. Brandon finally achieved everything he wanted, but a car accident took his life at just 22. You can't help but think about the absurdity of someone who fought so hard being taken so soon. So, I ask those of you who've seen this movie, do you think it's fair or cruel how Brandon's life was portrayed? Let me know in the comments. Personally, I loved it. Stay well, folks, and see you next time.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect.